Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of Noob Mama's LARP Lessons. Alright, everyone, it's time we addressed one of the most complicated and sometimes contentious topics in the LARP and tabletop role-playing spaces. That's right, I'm talking about character backstories. Okay, admittedly, this video is meant to help with backstories. It can be overwhelming trying to decide what works. What's too much? What's too little? What's going to be fun? And then we have those backstory cliches like,
My name is Moonshadow Darkblade. My entire village was destroyed by monsters. I've been alone ever since. I have a million scars and a permanent aura of brooding. I refuse to help anyone. I have no desire for character growth, and my...
Okay, no, let's stop right there. Wait, stop. We all know that one. Classic. But we can fix her. Well, we can jazz her up with these tips and make her a fully fledged character with real purpose. Let's dive into the wide world of character backstories. For this video, we're specifically talking about creating character backstories for LARP characters and tabletop characters, though feel free to use this information as you will for other outlets. Some people care about backstories, some don't. Same goes for game runners. Some of them like to see them, some just simply don't. If your game runner doesn't really care for backstories, try not to pressure them to bringing it into the game and just make sure you're making it a comfortable experience for everyone. But I personally am a game runner who loves to integrate player backstories. And, you know, I'm also a player who likes to see their own backstory notes come up here and there. As always, do what works for you and for the person running the experience for you. Backstories are an account of the character's life before they began their adventure, aka before you create your level 1 tabletop or LARP character. They're not necessary, and not everyone likes creating them, which is fine, but I personally think they are such a good way to give your character some additional depth. They can help dictate choices that your character might make, and even in some situations maybe give you an advantage to the roleplay. For example, it could give you some material to pull from when you have downtime and you're interacting with other players and NPCs. Or maybe your character skills could be explained by experiences that they have in their backstory. It really all boils down to one delicious benefit: flavor. Now, think about what a level 1 character could reasonably achieve throughout their life before they begin their adventure. You can't exactly have a history of dragon slaying, godlike powers and abilities, mass amounts of wealth and artifacts, obscene amounts of power, etc., etc. The list goes on. What you can and should have are a couple chapters already written in the story of your character's life while leaving the rest of their story blank. You want to leave the rest of the book blank because that's the part that you're going to fill in as you experience the adventure. Please don't actually write chapters upon chapters for your backstory. You're going to give your game runner an aneurysm. Make some key decisions piece by piece. Who are their parents? Are their parents alive? Do they have siblings? Where did they grow up? What was their childhood like overall? What was expected of their future, and did they obey that path or did they wander off of it a little bit? What caused them to even leave for their adventure? When I make a backstory, I ask myself pretty often, does this make sense? Does it fit the world? Is this really something that could reasonably happen to someone, even in a fantasy setting? And while I think it's good to focus on our realistic topics first, I do love me some fantasy drama. So on to the second topic. Consider, for a moment, the humble farmer. They spend their days tending to their fields, caring for their animals. They have a warm meal to come home to at the end of the day and a nice soft bed to climb into for a good night's sleep. They're content. They want for nothing. So why on earth would they leave it all behind and choose to become an adventurer? What's their motivation? Okay, really they don't need one. I mean, if you decide to play a farmer who got bored one day and wanted to become an adventurer, then you do you, that is valid, and I support you. But for the sake of this video, let's give those happy little farmers a reason, shall we? Namely, the turning point. I find it both helpful and exciting to give my character a turning point in their backstory. Something that metaphorically or literally physically gives them a kick in the butt to get on the path to adventuring. And it doesn't have to be extreme. My old character Taylin basically left home because she felt like dead weight compared to her best friend during childhood who had some really good martial skills and was useful in protecting their home village. No one died. She just decided to up and leave because she wanted to prove that she could be stronger. So beyond the game's canonical reason for adventurers gathering at that outpost, she had her own personal reason to explore growth. A turning point could be so many things besides that. Perhaps they're an ex-criminal who just managed to escape prison, and they've stumbled upon the party or community in question and have decided to start a new life amongst them. Maybe they're a treasure hunter who got the tip of a lifetime to some really big haul, but it turns out to be fake, which they've only discovered after they've already joined the adventuring party that they're with. Whatever you decide to do, have fun with it. Make it a pivotal moment in their life that gives that character a reason to do what they're doing now without going too off the rails. Oh, how I love a good goal, both in real life and my many fantasy lives. The good thing about the turning point is that it tends to lead nicely into a goal for your character. And even just having one single goal for them branches off into so many benefits. It gives you motivation to really be present at the game as that character. It can give you new and unique ways to interact with the world. It could even prompt special interactions with fellow players and NPCs. And it provides depth to the character themselves, making them feel so much more alive and grounded. A goal could be many things. For Vera, it was to become a Justicar, which was basically the highest ranking position in her church, and she had wanted that since she was a child. And in the mechanics of the game, it was a very cool high-level list with some super cool skills. This mattered to her as a character, but it also gave me, the player, something to tangibly achieve within the mechanics of the game. A couple goals that served no technical purpose, but still mattered to her as a character, were things like making sure her brother was happy and had a good life, and becoming a stronger, more independent woman who didn't need any help from anyone. She could handle things herself. Goals really do vary, especially depending on the character that you're playing, but try to think of one that has a mechanical purpose that you can tangibly achieve within the system of the game, and something that's just purely roleplay. From here, we get to explore growth. Let's be honest for a second, characters that have no goals or purpose kinda tend to become stagnant. They can be a little more challenging to interact with, and have a hard time finding their place in that setting because they're just sort of going from quest to quest following the party, and we all deserve better than that. Of course, if you're getting enjoyment out of just going from quest to quest and being along for the ride, there's nothing wrong with that, as long as you're not holding your other players back because of it. Let's use Moonshadow as an example. She's a lone wolf type and intends on staying that way. Other players want to pull her in on a quest because they need the help, and the players are trying to get her involved in something on an out-of-game level. But Moonshadow is dead set on being a loner. Going forward, players might avoid her. They may not interact with her because she gives them no information or insight to her character that makes her easy to talk to. They don't bring her on quests because she may just decline repeatedly, or once she's on the quest, maybe she acts selfishly because, the good old, it's what my character would do sort of thing. Now, not all lone wolves are like this, and it's still a really valid character choice with some really fun potential, but let's create some wiggle room for the ones that tend to mirror our good old Moonshadow. If you want to do the lone wolf type, leave a couple chapters blank in your story like we were talking about earlier. Let others guide you and influence your decisions. See what happens if you do decide to join that quest. See how your character feels after choosing to help someone and actually acting selflessly. Make the decision to open up to one character about your backstory, maybe someone who you've come to trust a little bit or has earned your respect in some way. These moments are by far one of my favorite parts about roleplay. If you allow yourself to be swept up in these moments, you might be surprised at where the character growth goes. And leaving some chapters blank means you're not locking yourself out of content for your own character. You're creating a path towards growth, and by letting others influence your decisions, you're getting others involved in your journey, and it makes it such a good collaborative experience for everyone involved. If this is too much, or it just isn't your cup of tea, which is fine, but you still want some simple guidelines to help you along the way, I recommend the 5 W's. Who, what, where, when, and why. Who? Who is your character? Build them mechanically and then make some basic choices about their family, their upbringing, and key parts of their personality. What? What are their talents and hobbies? What do they bring to the table in an adventuring setting? Make some choices from them beyond what's on your character sheet. Maybe in their free time, they like to do some knitting. Or maybe their family had a mead business growing up, so every time they go to a tavern, they always get mead if it's on the menu because it makes them think of home. Where? Where are they from? Having a good idea of their past setting and their home, where they come from, can give you some really good information to play with going forward. Maybe at some point their hometown will be relevant to the plot, or it could give your game runner some material to use. When? When did they decide to set out on their adventure? And why? Why are they adventuring? Why do they care to help? Or why not at all? Why do they make the decisions that they do? These guidelines really break down what we're talking about, and it still gives you some fun stuff to play with. Backstories certainly aren't a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. Do what's comfortable for you while also respecting your fellow players and your game runner. If you do things that are a little too outlandish or make the character difficult to interact with, then it might come back to bite you in the butt later. Above all else, these are collaborative experiences, so we want to do what's going to make it fun for everyone, ourselves included. Here's a challenge for you at your next game. Ask another player about their backstory, but, in an in-character kind of way. So where did you grow up? Where did you learn how to do that? What brought you here anyway? Not only will it make someone else feel seen and excited, but it'll give you both a really great collaborative roleplay moment to have together. Win-win! Until next time, my friends, happy gaming!